Afternoon, everyone. I just think this is a norm now. I think a lot of people have experienced buy bubbles over the last couple of years, and you find better ways to deal with them. Sometimes you read a book. You've got a lot of you've got activities available to you with fitness equipment and different things like that. So it's something that's not new to everyone now. I think everyone's getting better at it and starting to understand the best way they can get through. Some days are better than the others, but I know I've just started a book called The American Assassin, and I tell you what, after being halfway through it, I'm sleeping with one eye open.
Yeah, I think as Brad mentioned, it's going to be a norm now. At least till we win the battle against COVID. And having the family is always a blessing, because the majority of the times as professional cricketers, a professional sports person, you're always traveling. Whereas, when the family is around, especially during quarantine, you can spend some quality time with them. And as far as I'm concerned, my kids are also with me. My better half is with me. Kids are having exams. I'm watching the India-England Test series. I hope India bounce back and probably win this game. So I think it's good to have the family around, and also in the bubble life, because unfortunately, because of being in a bubble, you can't go out of your hotel. So it's only staying at hotel or going to the ground where you're practicing or you're playing a match. So I think you spending time with family is always quite productive, and I really enjoy doing that.
I think yes, like you guys said, it's a norm, but it's difficult as well. So generally you plan when you go to the tour, you plan what you're gonna do on the tour, your routines, whatever. So nowadays, when I go for quarantine, I plan that what I'm gonna do on these 6 days. So in terms of fitness or whatever Netflix or binge watching, whatever that is. So I keep planning all those things as well. Like Lakshman Bhai said that having family with us, it's a huge boost, because I know it's tough when you're alone. It's tough. You really don't know what you do for those 6 days. So these are tough things, and being a professional, when you don't do anything for 6 days, even bowling, so your body kind of shuts down. Then you have to go back to the ground, starts from zero. So I think in that term it's tough, but I hope things get better soon, and this thing stops.
Bhuvi, you make an interesting point there. I think the one thing with athletes, we've grown up a lot with structure, and I think that's one thing that's come through learning about the different quarantines. If you can get a bit of structure and shape to what your days look like. I know for me, I enjoy getting, and I know Laxi enjoys it as well. I know getting up early and enjoying a coffee to start my day.
Absolutely. That's right.
It's one thing that I sort of try to keep a routine. You don't want to get into the habit sometimes of just lazing around, and then the day sort of pass you by and you feel like you haven't really done anything. You've got to stimulate your mind a bit as well with a bit of structure. That's how I would.
And that's why, Bhuvi, I want to ask you this, because you were the vice captain on that Sri Lanka tour, where Shikhar was the captain. And I think the quarantine was quite an extended one, because you did in Mumbai, and then you landed up in Sri Lanka. You had that bubble, and again with Krunal testing positive. How tough was it? And how was the experience of being the vice captain of the Indian team?
I mean, I'll start off with the vice captain. It was a good experience. I mean, it was an honor for me. Even it was just one series, but it was an honor for me to be the vice captain of the team. But when you have added responsibilities, you kind of get mature. You start thinking in different perspective, because being a player, you just more centric about yourself. Of course, team is one thing, because that's a one goal towards achieving something. But when you become vice captain, you start thinking about how you're gonna contribute to the team, how you're gonna talk to other players, or make them comfortable. So that is something I've learned. And yes, that was 14 days quarantine in Mumbai, and then 3 days in Sri Lanka. But good part was that first 7 days was strict quarantine, and then the next 7 days we could go to the gym and go around in the hotel.
In Mumbai, is it? In Mumbai?
In Mumbai, yes.
Okay.
So in total, that was around 18 days of quarantine, 3 days in 4 days in Sri Lanka and 14 days in Mumbai. So yes, things are getting tough in terms of quarantine. Like I said, I hope, after the T20 World Cup, there could be some, easy things in the quarantine.
Oh, I tell you what's interesting there as well, Bhuvi. You obviously had the opportunity to be vice captain of your country, which is congratulations. It's enormous. But also with the quarantine and things, you've also, as a vice captain, you've got to be worrying about what your other teammates are doing as well too. You sort of got to stay in touch with how they're coping with quarantine. The captains and the coaches, they have a lot going on. Part of that role also is making sure that the rest of your teammates are getting through the quarantine days as well.
Yes, like I said, when you have those responsibilities, you start thinking in team's perspective. What other guys are doing? Are they comfortable or no? Or what you can do to make them comfortable. So these are the little things. And of course, coach and captain, they are busy in making strategies or keeping other things have other things in their mind. So yes, these are the things, and I'm sure these things makes you more mature, makes you more responsible, and if you like you said, you think about other players, so which makes you more humble. That these things are tough, so it's all about being a good human. So these are the things which I've learned.
Interesting. And Brad, what about you? How is it in Australia at the moment?
Yeah, we've had an interesting time. We've been in New South Wales. We've basically been in a strict quarantine since we've got back from the IPL. So we've had kids that have had homeschooling. We've been stuck inside for that time till we get over here. So from my point of view, I'm actually looking forward to some cricket. We probably didn't start the first half of the tournament the way we would have liked to, but one thing we come to familiar territory over here where we did play some good cricket a couple of years back on these venues. So to me, it's an exciting time to get back here where it's familiar conditions for this group and where we played well at.
Yeah, I remember you texting once the tournament moved to Dubai, and you were just mentioning in the group saying that, just remember the good times we had last year, how we bounced back in the second half of the tournament and qualified for the playoffs. So I think I'm hoping that it will be the same mindset going into the remaining part of this IPL. Yes, we didn't have a great start in India, but I'm sure that with the quality and the talent we possess in the team, I'm sure that everyone is looking forward to bouncing back. And that's what I am eagerly waiting. And we had a great time last year. I think the hotel was fabulous. Even though it was the first experience for a majority of us to be in quarantine and in a bubble, I thought we enjoyed each other's company. We had great fun last year.
Yeah, and I think that's an important part this time. I see this as a great opportunity. We've got a highly skilled playing group, but there's also opportunities here. We don't have to spend all the time understanding conditions. We know what that looks like. So it's a great opportunity for our players to play with no consequences, to go out there and put these highly skilled, whether it be the younger players or the older players, on show and just play with that brand of cricket that has no consequences.
I know Bhuvi didn't have a great time last year. Unfortunately, he was injured, but I'm sure that this part of the IPL, I'm sure you'll really enjoy yourself, Bhuvi. Yeah?
Yes, definitely. When I got to know that we are moving in Dubai for the second leg, so the first thing came to my mind was, what happened to me last IPL. But of course, I want to forget that part and move on from that.
Yeah.
And like you said, yes, we are not in a good position currently. But I don't see any reason that why can't we turn around things. So we have highly skillful players and individuals, and of course Kane is there, who led us wonderfully us in 2018. So hope thing gets better for us in this IPL in second leg. And just Lakshan bhai, wanted to ask you that how this bubble is different from commentating bubble. Of course, these are two different things.
Yeah, I think as far as bubble is concerned, it's very similar. You're not going outside the hotel. You go to the ground, or if you're doing from the studio, then you go to the studio, the place where you're going to work. Yeah. But the only difference I feel is for the players, because as commentators, it's not necessary for us to work out. And Even if you're working out, I think the intensity is not as much as probably when you're playing. So I think that's the only difference I feel, because it's tough for the players. Because when you're in midst of a competition, you want avenues where you can recover, avenues where you can just relax and not think about the game. But I think being in a bubble, that's always going to be a challenge, because mentally, whenever you want to relax, whenever you want to be fresh for the next match, I think being in a bubble will not give you that opportunity. And that's why I think as a support staff, as management, we have to make sure that you have, various team bonding sessions or various, sort of just to keep the morale of the team high, and allow them to just relax. Because I always feel that when you're playing at the highest level, and for me, IPL tournament is nothing less than an international tournament or an international series. You want your players not only to be physically fresh, but also mentally fresh. And I think as team management and as support staff, that is something which I'm sure all of us will be doing, and that's a very integral part of being in a bubble.
Yeah, I see that one as one of the most important roles of the staff in this time. We know we have a highly skilled group cricket-wise, but you've also got to remember there's times when you get back to the hotel where the informal chat doesn't need to be about cricket. You need to, where the guys some have their coffee club, other guys enjoy playing volleyball or strolling around the beach in there. They have their table tennis competitions where that they're interested to watch some of the young players play that competitive edge, but Bhuvi seems to get the better of them. But it's also important that they, for our point of view, to make sure that they're not always thinking about the game of cricket and be able to learn to turn on and off.
Yeah, and I think we've got great characters, in the team, especially the youngsters. I'm sure Bhuvi spends a lot more time than probably you and me, Brad. Guys like Khalil, guys like Priyam Garg, Abhishek, Samad, all of them are not only talented players, but also I think they're exciting prospects for the team and the franchise, and I'm sure they'll have a bright future. But all of them are entertainers, and some of them are real characters, and I think just to keep them going and be their natural self is very critical, because you don't want them to change just because they're coming and playing for the first time in a franchise. Last year they were there, and all of them is so brilliant. I'm sure Bhuvi will have a lot more stories than probably you and me, Brad.
We're not allowed to hear that.
I mean, that is one thing about bio bubble. So you spend lot more time with each other. You get to know each other a lot more. So especially like you mentioned, Khalil, Priyam, Abhishek. So these young guys, when you sit with them, you don't have any dull moment. All the time you're laughing, you're just listening to them. And the good thing is that, they know what they are doing. So sometimes you get carried away, when you have, a lot of, those sessions off the field. But when they get onto the field, they know what they want to do. So these are something, which the few things which I've learned from them, that we always talk about switching on and switching off. So these young guys, they do it brilliantly. So sometimes you caught in a moment that it's IPL, it's a pressure thing. You have to perform in IPL to get to your respective national team. So but when you are with these guys, they know how to keep their professional personal life separately.
Yeah, I think that's so important. Yeah, very, very important. And Bhuvi, after this, IPL, after the IPL, T20 World Cup going to happen, and I'm sure that you'll play a very important part in that tournament for India. How are you looking forward to that tournament?
Generally, I never look for like IPL is going on, and I never look too ahead for T20 World Cup. But this time I'm looking for that because it's just 7 matches left, and whatever I'm gonna do, it's gonna be a build up for the World Cup. So whatever my preparation will be, whatever I'm gonna do in the matches, irrespective of the performance. So my mindset is gonna be how I'm gonna prepare for the World Cup in this IPL as well. So yes, these are the things which I've planned. Like I said, when you're in the quarantine, you plan few things, and that is one of the things that how I'm gonna prepare in these 6 days of quarantine in terms of fitness, and of course moving forward into the IPL.
Yeah, do you think that it will benefit? Sorry, Brad. Do you think, Bhuvi, it will benefit a lot of these Indian players because IPL is happening just before the World Cup? So you're almost getting used to the surfaces on which the World Cup is going to take place. Do you think that will be an advantage for India?
Uh, well, it's difficult to say. I mean, not for India, but there are players who are from other countries playing in IPL, and it could be the same thing for them. But of course, for Indians, that things are almost pretty similar to, I mean, in Dubai and in India, in terms of that, that could be advantage for us because you play in some condition, you get used to it, but when grown up on those conditions, it gets different. So, I mean, to some extent, there's gonna be a advantage for Indian players.
I actually think it's a good question, Laxi. I think it's a real advantage having the IPL now leading into the 2020 World Cup. I think one of the big things is with COVID, it's been hard to get blocks of cricket. And you've been playing different forms where we see the test matches on at the moment. We've got different countries playing one-day series. And I think the leading now to have a block of 2020 cricket leading into a world tournament's outstanding. I think that the players have got a really good understanding of the wickets. And I think that'll play an important part, especially at the back end of the World Cup. You'll be able to get game plans. And we know a lot about 2020 cricket's about matchups and different times where you go hard in a power play, how you're playing the middle overs and how important your back end overs are. So I think it's a great opportunity for not only the Indian players, but all the other countries to get a really good lead in and have a real good block of 2020 cricket. I think we're going to see an unbelievable World Cup.
And what do you think about Australian team, Brad? What are their chances?
Yeah, I think we've got a really good squad. I know we've had some tough cricket over the last couple of months. We've lost in Bangladesh and the West Indies. And you can look at that a number of ways. I think the way I'm looking at it, we've identified a couple of areas that we need to work on. I think Mitch Marsh will come in at number 3. I think he's done a really good job with the way he's played in the subcontinent wickets. And I think he gives us a great opportunity there. I think you've got Maxwell will come back in. And I think Steve Smith, to me, is going to be an interesting role to play. I think on these wickets, yes, we talk about hitting the boundaries and moving the game forward, but one of the skills is being able to manipulate the ball in those middle overs to get to the other end, run hard. I think he'll play a really big role there as well. So I think we've got a team with all the guys coming back that can do well in the tournament. It's just about how they start. I know under the staff they'll be really well prepared and ready for when they get here. So as I said before, I think it's going to be a really, really interesting, enjoyable tournament.
Yeah, and I think there's not one team which start as favorites. As Indians, probably we will back the Indian team to win the tournament. But I think Pakistan is a good T20 side. West Indies is a good T20 side. Australia is a good side. So I think, and the format is such that one good knock or one good spell can just turn the result in favor of their team. So I think it's going to be an exciting T20 World Cup. Can't wait for it to start.
And Brad, it was interesting to see that players like David Warner, Steve Smith, they were rested for a couple of series. I mean, it was a strategy from Cricket Australia, or do you think? I mean, or they might play IPL and then followed by World Cup. It was, I mean, something to give rest to them, or what?
Yeah, Bhuvi, I think that's just the world we live in at the moment. The guys you're talking about were away a long time. They were on the road. They've been in a lot of bubbles where things can be a bit unnatural for a while. David, for example, has got a young family. So I think you're going to see more and more of that over the next couple of years, making sure your players are fresh for bigger tournaments. You want your best players playing as much as you can for your country. It's important. We've seen a similar thing with you guys, which I thought it's a really good selection policy and thing as well. You had your test series going on and you had another really strong Indian team playing in Sri Lanka. So it gives the other guys the opportunity to get exposure at that level. It's not always about the cricket they play. It's about learning with the bubbles, learning with new coaches, being around an international setup. So I think we're going to see more and more players have tournaments off, just the way the world is at the moment.
Yeah, interesting. And Bhuvi, last one from me. Yeah. How was what was the experience like working under Rahul Dravid?
It was a good experience. So yes, I was looking forward to working with him. And as we know how calm he is. I mean, of course, you have played with him. You know how calm he is and how he works. So he was pretty similar when he was coaching us, and he's the one who look for the details. I mean, attention to details. So he just want to keep everything perfect from his side. And then what was one thing I like from him, that he said that win or lose, we're gonna be same. I mean, I won't appreciate much if we win. I won't criticize you much if we lose. I mean, of course, there's something being a coach he does. He always talk to you about your preparation and what you're gonna do before the match, all those things. And I mean, like I said, that he's very calm. So which when you want from a coach, you don't want something behind you and pushing you. But of course, I love working with him.
Excellent, excellent.
We've seen over the years, probably 20 years, he's never got flustered, whether he's batting, fielding. Did he get flustered at all, at all, or was he just the same tempo the whole time?
I think, see, as a player, he never got flustered.
Never.
For sure. So I've never watched him from close quarters as a coach. But I think what Bhuvi mentioned is it's quite similar to him as a player. But I think one thing with Rahul, you'll always get is attention to detail. Because for him as a player also, he was very, very big on preparing. And that's something which is in your control. I think that's what we as a coaching staff also always emphasize to the players. Whichever teams we are part of, is nothing can compromise the preparation part. Results can come your way or may not come your way, but as far as preparing well, you can never ever compromise. I think that's what Rahul is doing even as a coach.
Perfect. Well, for me, boys, Laxi, I've got these 4 kilos of coffee beans that I need to start to get in. So
yeah, that's the first thing I'm looking forward to after coming out of quarantine.
right. Well, stay safe, boys.
Yeah, good stuff. Take care. Take care. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
See you guys soon.
Bye.